All right, Judd, since I know you love the positive spinning questions after blowout losses more than anyone, why don't you start us off on the second chunk of statements here on Mackey and Judd?
Judd Zolgad Sports Dad is going to look ahead, not behind, because that's the type of positivity I bring, all right? And my statement is very, very simple. Bring on the Guardians. Bring on Cleveland. Cleveland, I believe, won 2 or 3 against the Dodgers in Los Angeles over the weekend, while the Twins dropped 2 or 3 against the D-backs. And now, if I'm not mistaken, Cleveland is only 1 game back in the American League Central. The Guardians will be here at Target Field Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. The Twins then play 3 games at Target Field against the Rockies before going to Cleveland for 5 games. 8 of the next 11 games are against the Guardians, all right? There are, by my count, 16 games remaining between these two teams, including 5 more in Cleveland in September. The point being is, I think the champion of the division is largely going to be decided head-to-head, and I can't wait. Bring on the Guardians.
Yeah, this is so interesting. The Twins over the last month, too, and yes, they've shown some bright stretches. They, without any of their top starting pitchers, a bunch of guys on the COVID list, they go on that 9-game stretch and they play 5-4 baseball against the best teams in the American League East. So there's been some good things, but overall, over the last month, the Twins are 11-14, and that includes losing series against the Diamondbacks and the Tigers. So they only have a 1-game lead over the Guardians going into this stretch of 8 games against them in 11. And the Guardians are supposed to be tanking this year. That's the crazy thing about that franchise. They stripped their payroll all the way down. Nobody goes to those games, and they're sitting here with a chance to take over the American League Central. Baseball's weird, and the Guardians are weird. I'm going to give you I'm going to piggyback because my first statement is about the Guardians. So I worry that the Twins weren't quite able to capture the pitching development magic when they hired Derek Falvey away from the Guardians. Okay, if you've been paying attention to the Guardians the last 5 or 6 years, they haven't missed a beat. Okay, so while the Twins are running out guys like Chris Archer, trying to tap into the end of his career, my guy Dylan Bundy, who you can apologize to for his great start on Saturday.
I got a statement on that.
Okay, we'll get to it.
We'll wait for it.
The Guardians just keep pumping dudes out, either via trade or draft. I mean, look at just right now on their active roster. Shane Bieber, what was he, like a 4th-round pick, turned Cy Young Award winner. Tristan McKenzie has been one of the better starters in the American League this year. He was a 1st-round pick that's totally panned out. In their bullpen, Emmanuel Clase is a lights-out closer that they got just in that Corey Kluber trade with Texas. Just kind of a guy that they've developed. Eli Morgan was an 8th-round pick. He's their lights-out setup guy, striking out, 12 batters per 9. And then Sam Hentges, Minnesota's own Sam Hentges, was a 4th-round pick. And he's dominating in those. And there's more too, by the way. They've got like 3 other guys with 12 strikeouts per 9. They try to tank. They try to strip their payroll down, and they just keep purging these amazing starting pitchers and relievers out of their system. And the Twins are playing the waiver game basically every week to try and keep their bullpen intact. So I don't know, man. Whatever Cleveland was doing over there, I totally get why you'd want to hire someone from the center of that front office, but they don't seem to have missed Falvey, and Falvey hasn't been able to capture that same Guardians magic in this front office. So get to stare at it face to face here 8 times in the next 11 games.
I do think that they're going to miss Bieber and Quantrill. I think both of them pitched the past 2 days, so that's the good news. But you know what? The division will be decided. I mean, it's 16 games left, so it'll be fun. I'm very curious. I'm very positive. All right, let me see what my next statement is. Oh, okay, I'll get right to it. The moment you've all been waiting for, the moment that everybody has been tormenting me on Twitter about, my statement is, sorry seems to be the hardest word. Thank you very much, Elton John. All right, so am I going to apologize to Dylan Bundy? What a
start. What a start for Dylan Bundy.
Saturday, 1 run, 4 hits, 7 strikeouts. Twins win 11-1. He goes 8 innings. Rocco, where did that come from? Because Chris Archer got yanked after 4 and 60-some pitches on Sunday. I don't completely get
We'll talk about that too, by the way.
I don't completely get that one. But anyway, am I going to apologize to the veteran Dylan Bundy? I'm going to say one thing. to Dylan Bundy. Do it again and again and again, and you get your apology. And here's why. In the previous 7 starts before the Koufaxian masterpiece, the Drysdalian piece of pitching magic that we saw on Saturday night, Dylan Bundy, 8.51 ERA. Opponents were batting .346 against him. And to make Phil happy, his FIP, fielding independent pitching, was still .673. No, I'm not going to. I am going to say,
listen,
do it again and
the
again
wind,
and
the
again,
wind
and
in
you get my
Toronto,
apology.
the wind in Toronto. Those Yankees hitters are all on steroids. You can't. You basically have to throw those 2 games out. Okay. The Baltimore game, wasn't he pitching on 2 days rest in that Baltimore game? And he's.
No.
I feel like you're.
No,
I feel like you're misremembering.
No, he
maybe.
was not. He was not. So Dylan Bundy, 8 innings though, man. What the hell got into Rocco?
All they really need from him is just listen. You don't have to do that every night, but just be a number 5 starter. Just be stable. Just go out there. So I'm glad you brought up Bundy here. And if he does it one more time, I think you should apologize. But we'll see what happens. So here, the 8 innings thing is a big deal because here's my next statement. What the Twins are trying to do with their bullpen is completely unsustainable. So yesterday, Chris Archer comes in, and he's been fine this season. And I get that he's not going to go 7 or 8 innings. I totally understand that. You're not going to run him out there for 110 pitches. He's had some major injury problems, so I totally understand that. I'm not asking for him to be a horse like maybe he was, earlier in his career. But he's going 4 innings. Gave up 2 home runs, but he retired 12 of the 15 batters he faced. 61 pitches. And Rocco said, that's good enough. We've got, and these are his words, a well-rested, fully rested bullpen. And so let's start running those guys out there in a close game still, by the way. When I think it was like a 2-1 game going into the bullpen portion.
It was.
And in fairness, he did bring in Griffin Jacks as one of their 3 or 4 best relievers to start the string. He gives up a bomb. And then Caleb Thielbar, who's just not effective at all this season, gives up like 3 or 4 runs. But here's my point. The Twins bullpen has thrown the 2nd most bullpen innings of any staff in the American League so far this season. And they only have like 2 or 3 truly reliable relievers. So you're telling me your strategy is to throw more innings than almost any bullpen in the American League, but with fewer reliable relievers than almost any bullpen in the American League.
Yes.
And it's going to work for you long term. It's not. And I'm sure they're somewhat aware of this, but they either need to move on a couple relievers via trade, especially a lefty at some point, or they need to let guys like Archer eat another inning or 2 when they've gone 61 pitches. Okay, he gave up a couple home runs. He only allowed 1 other base runner. Can you not get 6 innings and 90 pitches out of Chris Archer in that situation so that you're not running 5 relievers out there every single night? I don't really understand. Like if they had a loaded bullpen and it was the Yankees bullpen from a few years ago where you just start bringing flamethrowers in the 3rd inning of a playoff game against the Twins. Like, okay, I get it, but you're not. You don't have a stacked bullpen, and so stop leaning on them to the degree that which you are. That's my biggest gripe right now.
And this is where my biggest gripe across the board, and I'll bring another one to the table in a second, is the lack of common sense here too. Rocco has spent the past week whining and complaining about, I want a 14th pitcher, but today is the start where baseball says, and I'm on board, 13 and that's it, okay? So he's literally like, our guys are they're going to be taxed. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. So I thought with Bundy, he basically said, I've got to have guys extended. Like we have to get our starters into a groove, not to pitch 8, but let's say pitch at least 5. Oh my God forbid, perhaps 6, right? So what they did on Saturday, I was like, oh, I sort of get what you're doing here, Rocco. This makes sense. And then he comes back and allows Archer to throw 4. I'm not asking for 8. I'm asking for 5. I'm asking for 6. But explain that. Like you are spending all of your time complaining about the lack of an extra bullpen arm. And then you're saying, but our bullpen is rested, so let's bring them in. Like at some point in time, common sense says, Rocco, let's pitch this guy 5.
Yeah, I don't get.
It's not hard.
It's so bizarre. Again, if you had 6, if you had Cleveland's bullpen, because Cleveland has 3 guys with ERAs under 2. And then they got another 3 or 4 guys with strikeouts per 9 numbers through the roof above 12. And so they probably have 6 or 7 relievers that you could say, yeah, I think we can lean on those guys to go an inning or an inning and 2/3 and help this starter who had to be pulled after 4 or something. The Twins are willingly, it's not like the Twins are, Chris Archer's not getting rocked every time out. He's actually been pretty good in his little 4-inning chunks. But if he's just going to be a 4 innings guy, and then you're going to have Dylan Bundy largely until this weekend be a 4, 5, 6 innings guy.
Yes.
Okay, that's 40% of your rotation just can't pitch past the 5th inning, and your bullpen doesn't have reliable guys. I'm sure they're probably well aware of this, but they either need starters who can give you more innings, or they need 2 or 3 more reliable relievers. So we'll see what they do here in the next 5 or 6 weeks with the trade deadline. By the way, different kind of performance issue, but if you're having performance issues, guys, maybe in the bedroom, don't be ashamed. In fact, our friends at Valley Park Medical Clinic are all about helping with breakthrough ED remedies to men in the greater Minneapolis area. The treatments are surgery-free, drug-free, and non-invasive. And the Valley Park Medical Clinic team is highly trained and will work with you in a discreet manner to make you feel right at home so you can ask any question in a professional and confidential environment. ValleyParkMedicalClinic.com. Also, a shout out to our friends at Federated Mutual Insurance Company. They've been around for over 100 years, helping business owners with risk management, tools, resources, frontline protection to help maximize your business. Find out more, including a full list of industries Federated works with at federatedinsurance.com, where it's our business to protect yours, Judd.
A flawed plan part 2 is my statement. All right. So again, this comes back to the common sense coaching, okay? It's common sense. That's all this is. So Byron Buxton on Friday, DHs. You're playing on turf now. I totally get this too. That's fine. On Saturday, he does not play. Okay, I don't love that, but it is what it is, to use a cliche. But then on Sunday, you're getting blown out 7-1, and the game is over. The game is over. And you leave Buxton in. Why? That's an ideal time to, with your plan tracks to take him out when the game is lost. And at 7-1, that game was done. Celestino can go in and play. I don't care. But at 7-1, Byron Buxton is going back to catch fly balls. And I think to myself, okay, you're playing on turf, which I buy. I buy the thing. I don't want a guy like him with a knee problem being exposed to playing on turf a ton. Grass is obviously 1,000% preferable. But you just leave him in this is his day to play. Explain any of this to me. Help me.
I kind of get it. I'm not. Listen, I'm kind of done ripping them for this because it's working so far. He's right. Top 5 in the league in home runs. I do think it's more about the build-up to, okay, if he's already done all these things to get ready, then all right. Unless you're saying, why don't you, if the game is out of hand, then pull him so he doesn't run into a fence or something.
That's exactly.
I could see
I'm
that.
saying I'm saying you are trying to keep him as healthy as possible. All right. 7-1. There's no upside unless you think we're coming back. And look, if you watch the Twins bullpen perform on Sunday, you didn't think they're coming back. That's what I'm saying. You are trying to avoid him being hurt. At 7-1, you have the opportunity to do that, and no one's going to bat an eye, and you don't. That's what
I hear you. I think in general, I had a lot of questions, and I'm glad that the questions eventually got answered by the Twins. Why is he not playing center field more? Why is his, go back a month and a half? And, he's got a chronic knee issue. And so to this point, I think the plan has worked. He has stayed off the injured list while still being effective. I mean, he's on pace to have a 5.5, 6 wins above replacement season, which would be among the top 12 or 15 position players in all the baseball. So he's been, even missing all this time, really valuable. I agree with your nitpick in a blowout game. Let's just not risk twisting an ankle on first base or running into a fence or a left fielder. So generally, I think I'm with you on that front. Any other statements from you? Any other Twin statements or otherwise until we get to Buffoon of the Week here?
I've got at least one here. All right. It's this. The golf was fantastic. Saturday was great. Sunday was phenomenal, right? But my statement is this, and this was not Jim Nantz because this tournament obviously was on NBC. But my statement is, stop talking.
What?
Stop talking. So Matt Fitzpatrick, who was a great story, it seems like a great kid, won the tournament. When he wins, his family is there. They're all sort of crying. And by the way, it's very clear that these golfers are conditioned now not to swear like they do at times, but they know that there is going to be a mic and camera there. And so you hear a lot of gosh darn it's and things like that. So there's not a bunch of F-bombs. And Fitzpatrick wins this tournament, and it's a great moment just to sort of absorb and watch. And Dan Hicks gives us a history lesson at that point about his past and about the tournament. And you're literally watching him crying and hugging his brother. And I'm watching this and I'm like, this is awesome. I don't, at that point in time, and this is one of my biggest pet peeves, I don't need you as the announcer to put a signature on things. Vin Scully was the master of shutting up and allowing the crowd and the moment to carry the picture. It's called television for a reason, because you can see it. If this is on PGA satellite, then I totally get it. You got to keep talking. But this was a special, really, really cool thing. And I don't need your signature. I don't need you to talk while I'm watching this, what is just a fantastic moment to absorb. Stop talking.
I think that's Dan Hicks' Super Bowl, man. I mean, Dan Hicks.
He's got plenty of time, and he's good.
Well, he's got the Olympics, and then I think the U.S. Open and the Olympics are probably his two biggest events,
you know what?
Right?
He's really good, and he brings a ton. He and Jim Nantz are really good at what they do, but their need to talk at a moment where silence is absolutely golden drives me nuts.
My only beef with the coverage over the weekend was it just felt like, now they did do, I think they had Rolex sort of sponsor the commercial-free coverage down the stretch, but the amount of commercials taken during these majors is ridiculous. And then they'll give you the playing through commercials, which I think every commercial break should be playing through. Don't you want people more engaged? Oh, we're going to go to a commercial break, but I get to keep watching golf, and then I can kind of keep half an eye on your commercial. But it would seem like every 6 minutes they were breaking for like a 5-minute commercial
they sold a ton.
break. I know.
Anyway.
All right. I'm glad you brought up the tournament because it coincides with my buffoon of the week here every Monday on Mackey and Judd. And the buffoon of the week is really the buffoons of the week. So the biggest story has been these guys jumping from the PGA Tour to the Live Golf Tour, funded by Saudi blood money, right? Here, Phil Mickelson will give you $200 million to just come on over here and shoot 80 in the first tournament. So the Live golfers, as compiled by sportingnews.com, shot plus 100 combined at the U.S. Open. Dustin Johnson was the top finishing Live golfer, and he was tied for 24th. Only 5 of the 15 made the cut. Mickelson, Oosthuizen, Kevin Na, Taylor Gooch, Sergio Garcia, Sean Norris, Sam Horsfield, Brendan Grace, Jediah Morgan, and James Piot all missed the cut and didn't even play the weekend. DeChambeau was a train wreck over the weekend. So congratulations to these guys. They got their cash grab, and now they get to go play on these obscure tournaments or whatever. Yep. But they're probably, and now they're begging for world golf ranking classification too, because the problem is they're going to be falling down the World Golf Tour, the World Golf rankings, because they're not playing on tour.
Didn't they think of that?
They're just like playing in these exhibitions basically, which also if they don't get certified as a world golf ranking measured tour, then these guys, I think a lot of these guys might not qualify for some of the majors. So it's going to
Was there any genuine, beyond cash, thought given to this entire thing?
No,
I get the cash was thought out.
Cash was the thought.
But I mean, wouldn't you have wanted to know things like, am I going to still get points? Am I still, wouldn't you have asked those questions before you said, hey, Greg Norman, absolutely, I'm going to join?
I think if someone offers you $100 million or $200 million, I think you say yes if you're these guys. And some guys turn it down. But I think you say yes and then worry about the logistics later. That's pretty much what's happening with this tour. Would you do it if you were one of these guys? I mean, Dustin Johnson has basically said, "I actually want to play less golf anyways, so this is perfect."
Yeah, I don't think Dustin Johnson cares. I think that this is going to bring about as ugly of end to Phil's career as possible because he's being exposed completely now. He looks like a bad guy. I think after he failed to make the cut on Friday, he didn't do a press conference. He just left and issued some statement. He's gained weight back. He's growing a beard. He looks, so the one thing with Phil too is this. Phil's old. Phil's my age. Mm-hmm. So while I get his desire and potentially just his flat out need to get the influx of cash he's going to get, I am amazed he didn't give more thought to what this is going to mean to the ultimate storyline. Because he is a storyline guy, right? Phil's very concerned about how he's perceived. I mean, he is a marvelous fraud a lot of times because of his need to change or to shape the perception about him. So it's weird. I mean, he's going to go down in flames here. This is going to be bad. This is bad, I think.
I think what's going to be really interesting is because if he's playing like garbage, which he has been, is he worth $200 million to this Live Golf Tour?
Not anymore.
Initially, he's a name, but if he keeps shooting 77 in these tournaments and just not being in contention, was it still worth $200 million to get that much attention for 6 months or whatever?
Probably not. But I mean, he is a senior. He is nearing being a senior tour guy.
Well, he is, right? I mean, he's
right. But I mean, his play the past year or 2 years was sufficient to still be impressive. But I mean, there's going to be just a cliff here.
It's so interesting. AJ, are you a golf guy at all? Do you follow golf?
A little bit. I think we were talking about this last week. You and I kind of before a show. I don't really watch the first day or two, but late Saturday and yesterday I had it on while I was here, kind of doing some stuff, and then when I went home, I kind of watched the Zalatoris. I'm not going to say fall apart, but
no, he was actually amazing down the stretch, and he keeps finishing top 5 in these majors.
It's so tough. I saw somebody saying, "Is he the top golfer right now to just not win a thing?"
Yeah, because I don't think he's even won a PGA event at this point.
No, I don't think so.
But he's one of the best major players in the world.
He's lights out when he wants to be, on his day, as some would say. But no, he just can't get over that hump. It's kind of hard to watch.
Yeah. So I don't know I'm so curious to see, because they're going to keep throwing money at guys, and if there's right now it's kind of all the malcontents. It's Dustin Johnson, it's Patrick Reed, it's Bryson DeChambeau, Phil Mickelson. Kevin Na he's not really a malcontent, but people rip him for taking too long on the over every shot and stuff. So I don't know. But when are they going to get a guy? I don't think of Justin Thomas, because those guys have already spoken out. But if they went to Justin Thomas at some point and said, "All right, dude, $1 billion," they offered Tiger Woods $900 million or something. What's the price point where you would say, "Okay, I'm good. I'll leave all this legacy stuff that I've been protecting. I'm good."
It depends probably on my debt as well. If I have a lot of debt.
That's what Mickelson reportedly.
If I have a lot of debt. If let's say I gambled on sports a little bit too much and lost a ton, and now I owe lots of scary people, I'd probably say, "Okay, I'll take your money."
For me, it's got to come down. A big factor is just where you are in your career. Because if you are a seasoned vet and you've kind of done it all and you've won the green jacket and you have all this other stuff, you don't really care. You're sure, I'll cash out. But if you're a young up and comer, you just got on the tour, you want to hunt down these courses that you've idolized and you've seen Tiger play all your life growing up. There's got to be a draw to, okay, I'm gonna stay in the PGA. I'm gonna tough this out, and then maybe I make the transition down the road. But I think that's probably a bigger factor than maybe people are thinking about.
That's the Bryson conundrum, because he's not that old. I don't even think he's 30 years old, and he's one of the 5 most compelling players on the tour. And okay, if this thing kind of blows up in a year or two on the Live Tour, does the PGA Tour open up? Now they should, because he's interesting and he draws eyeballs. I think the PGA is fronting a little bit here, saying you guys are suspended forever or indefinitely. It's okay, if Bryson DeChambeau wants to come back in 2 years, you're telling me you don't want him hitting 380-yard bombs off the tee, on CBS on Saturday.
And he is a great bad guy too. He's a fantastic bad guy.
Yeah.
because he's just a jerk.
Yeah, but like he's kind of a
But he's good
charming
at it.
jerk. He's a classic wrestling heel, and that Patrick Reed to me is like go away heat, as they say in wrestling, where he's not like a charming jerk. He's just a jerk, and there's other guys like that too. But Phil Mickelson and Bryson DeChambeau are sort of the hey, I'll smile in front of the cameras and show you this side of my personality, but you know that they're really actually a bad guy.
And DeChambeau, I think, is probably good for golf, just because the whole thing between him and Brooks Koepka, that probably drew such a young crowd, because a lot of people golf, but not a lot of people like watch golf. I feel like not as many as they want. Same thing with baseball. Like kids play baseball, but they don't watch the Nationals and the Phillies on Wednesday night. So having like that kind of drama, that storyline behind it, I think benefits the PGA, and they know that there's eyes to, that are going to watch that actually develop. So
Judd watches the Nationals and Phillies on a Wednesday night.
I know he does.
Sure.
He absolutely does.
Just a little bit sometimes. I dip in a little bit, but depends on pace of play and starters as well. Starters are very important to me.
Yeah, amazing. All right, that's Mackey and Judd's statements here on this Monday. AJ filling in for Declan, who's his vacation's over, but he's taking the very wise day of recovery after the vacation day today.
It's the Rocco Day.
The Rocco Day, yes.
It's the Rocco Day.
What
Got to stay off my feet.
Kirilloff got the Rocco Day on Friday, didn't he? I mean, they had the off day on Thursday. They could have easily have planned Kirilloff coming into Phoenix on Thursday or Friday. And am I right? Kirilloff did not start on Friday.
He didn't start, but I think it was because Mad Bum was starting, and they didn't want. They claimed that they didn't want a to put him in against the Southpaw. That's what they claimed.
That's fair. That's fair. I can get with that. Okay.
But Declan is definitely on the Rocco Day today.
Over on Purple Daily. So last week was all about the Mackey rankings, the top 20 current Vikings. This week's all about the Judd rankings. First of all, you're going to swap 5 in and out for what my ranking should look like next year. And then you have ranked the top 25 all-time Minnesota Vikings. And we're going to go through that all week long.
Controversial. I'll just leave it at that.
So be checking that out. And thanks to everyone who has subscribed to the SKOR North and Purple Daily YouTube channels. We appreciate you guys. Daily Minnesota sports entertainment. Mackey and Judd.